This letter is not listed in any archive. It is not quoted in universities. Even those who have dedicated their lives to studying the works of the great psychoanalyst remain silent about it. It surfaces only in hushed conversations behind closed doors, in back rooms, among those unafraid to admit that science does not explain everything. Carl Gustav Jung, the founder of analytical psychology, the author of the concepts of archetypes and the collective unconscious, a man who believed that the soul is not just a poetic metaphor. He experienced clinical death, and what he described after returning does not fit into the standard model of consciousness. In the spring of 1944, Jung was in a hospital. His condition was critical: heart failure. Doctors recorded a cardiac arrest. Several minutes, complete silence. And it was in those minutes, according to Jung himself, that something entirely different began. He did not just lose consciousness, he found himself outside of his body. In a letter addressed to a certain Swiss colleague, whom he refers to only by the initials H.E., Jung describes his journey in detail. This letter was discovered only decades later in a private collection, and only thanks to the grandson of that very H.E., who one day in old age decided to give a copy to a documentarian. Jung wrote, "I was hovering above the earth. Everything that had existed before dissolved. No pain, no fear, no time. I saw a blue sphere, a planet like in NASA photographs, which did not yet exist at the time. I knew it was Earth, but it seemed distant, alien. I was being drawn further." What came next makes even the most hardened skeptics hold their breath. "I entered a space that cannot be described with words," Jung writes. "It was like an ancient temple, as if carved out of light. It did not glow, it was made of light. And there, I realized that everything I had considered consciousness was only a shadow, just a reflection of the true self." He describes an encounter with a being, not an angel, not a human, but something majestic and intimate at the same time. It did not speak, but thoughts, like streams of warmth, filled Jung with understanding. "I was shown," he wrote, "that life is a school not only for the personality but for the soul, that beyond death is not an end but a gateway. Do you feel it? As if a heavy, dusty door is being slightly opened? Just a little more, and you'll see what lies behind it?" But no. Jung was brought back. He heard the doctor's voice, felt the pressure on his chest. "I didn't want to return," he confessed, and then he adds a phrase that will not let one rest. "What I saw is not a metaphor. It is a reality we are not ready for." So why didn't he share this publicly? Why did he keep it secret? He knew the world would not accept the truth. Not back then, in the 1940s. He, a man of science, could not allow himself to be accused of mysticism. His reputation, his work, his entire life could have been erased by a single confession. In that very letter, which is now kept in a safe in one of the private archives in Basel, Jung shares a thought. "If I had spoken of this then, I would not have been understood. Perhaps they would have considered me insane. But I did not go mad. I saw a truth that terrifies the mind." Do you feel that chill down your spine? This is not just a text. It is someone's confession from the other side. Jung was certain that his experience was not unique. He wrote that thousands of people have gone through something similar, but they did not dare speak of it. He studied ancient myths, patients' dreams, stories of shamans, and he saw the same thing in all of them, references to that very temple of light. He even uses a phrase not found in any of his official books, the space between worlds. What did he mean? A simple metaphor? Or was he speaking of a real place, a kind of zone bordering what we call life and death? One of the most shocking passages in the letter reads as follows: "I saw faces, not familiar to me in this life, but I knew them. They were souls. One was my father. Another, a child I never had. Thoughts became transparent. I was not remembering my biography. I was remembering myself beyond it. He describes this state as absolute recognition. No words, no symbols, only knowledge, infallible, pure. But what happened next is even more mysterious. Jung writes that before his return, he was shown a vision of the future. At first, he did not understand what it was, but later, already in the hospital room, feverishly taking notes, he came to the conclusion that it was an image of humanity many years from now. Oh, and here, attention. He saw that a time would come when the boundary between worlds would become thinner. People would begin to feel more, see more, and in that would be not only liberation, but also danger. When the thin fabric of reality begins to tear, not everyone will be ready. Some will go mad, others will awaken. Does it sound like a prophecy or a warning? Jung knew he should not publish it. He even considered burning the letter, but left it with a condition: let it be read only when the world itself approaches the threshold. And now, nearly 80 years later, we have arrived. But what exactly did he see in that future? What did the world look like? Why did his voice tremble when he described the end of his vision? Do you want to know? From here, it only goes deeper. He did not write directly. He didn't say, "This is how it will be." Jung knew the power of metaphor, but in this letter, he allowed himself a bit more. He described the future as a world of light without shadow, and immediately added, "And where there is no shadow, there is no depth." What did he mean? In his description, the future of humanity resembles a mirror without reflection. Everything is visible, everything is clear, everything is out in the open. People are free, but lost. He says, I saw a world in which death had become transparent, but along with it, something important had vanished. Forgetfulness, pain, suffering, all had been cleansed. But without them, the soul loses its weight. As if he's hinting, pain is part of the path. As if without night, you cannot understand what morning is. And still, there, in that state between lives, he felt peace, perfect, impossible here on earth. He recounts that at some moment he was allowed to ask a question, only one, and he asked, "What is truth?" The answer, as he writes, came not in words, but in a vision. He saw a tree, its roots descending into darkness, its crown in fire. Truth is not knowledge, it is growth. It is pain accepted as a blessing. It is darkness that has become light. Do you feel it? This is not just philosophy, it's like a blow to something deep inside. But Jung was not allowed to stay. He felt again how he was being pulled back. I begged, let me stay. There, on earth, everything is wrong. There, fear, pain, confusion. But a voice, quiet yet undeniable, said, not yet. And so, he returns. Slowly, painfully, returns to his body. To a hospital room in the year 1944, to the noise and the smell of medicine. But after that, he was never the same. He did not make a sensation out of it. He didn't rush to go public. He understood, each in their own time. But he began to gather symbols, to write between the lines. His later works are full of echoes of that experience. And this letter is like a key, not for everyone, but for those who seek. He ends it with the words, period. When you come there, you won't be asked who you were. You'll be asked, how much did you become yourself? And now, the question is for you. Have you ever wondered who you are beneath it all? Beneath the roles, the fears, the habits? What will remain when everything external falls away like a husk? Jung saw the answer. He knew. But are you ready to discover what he discovered? After this experience, Jung could no longer live as he did before. He wrote a period. I returned, but a part of me remained there. And sometimes, in the middle of the night, I heard a call, quiet, like the echo of wind outside the window, but too alive to be a dream. He began searching for confirmation, in alchemy, in ancient Greek mysteries, in Kabbalah. All of this, for him, was an attempt by the ancients to transmit the very same structure he had seen outside the body. But what troubles the most is what he remained silent about. There is only a fleeting mention of a different force he felt in that space. In the letter, he says, "Not everything is in the light. Beyond the threshold, there are those who watch, who examine, who will not let you enter until you have passed your own." Jung never used the word demon or darkness. He was cautious. But here he writes about entities whose presence made the soul freeze. And it doesn't frighten. It sobers. He realized that returning to Earth was not a punishment, but a chance. He was given a little more time to speak, to prepare, to sow. "I am not a teacher. I am a messenger from the border," he wrote at the end of the letter. And now we come to the most important part. In the final paragraph, written as if by a trembling hand, Jung leaves a hint. Not direct, not clear, but if you read closely, there is a secret hidden in the words. He writes, "Period. If you are reading this, it means you have already heard the call. It is quiet, like breathing in a dream, but unmistakable. And if you do not turn away, you will be guided. Do not be afraid. Do you understand? This is not about Jung. This is about us. Everyone, at some point in life, experiences a moment when reality cracks. Illness, loss, a dream that won't fade, or the feeling that someone is near, even when you're alone. Jung says, this is the invitation, the beginning of the path. The question isn't whether you believe in the otherworldly. The real question is, when it knocks, will you open the door? And now, the final fragment of the letter. It was cut from the main text, attached separately, like a postscript, a small sheet, almost faded. On it, just a few lines, but they are the strongest in the letter. Truth is not knowledge. Truth is a meeting, face to face, without masks, without a name, where everything unnecessary burns away, and only what you have always been remains. And you, the one reading these words now, are you ready for such a meeting? After this letter, Jung never again wrote about what had happened to him. He continued working, wrote books, consulted patients, taught, but somewhere deep inside, he already knew. His true journal was not on paper. It was recorded at the boundary of worlds. When you read this letter, a strange feeling arises, as if it was written for you, not for some scholar, not for a pen pal, but for you, the one who has made it to these words. And then a question emerges, not rhetorical, a real one. What if it's true? What if between this life and what we call death, there really is a thin veil, and beyond it, not darkness, but a blinding light from which you want to turn away because it's too real? Jung saw it, but he didn't want to convince anyone. He simply said, seek for yourself. The path is not in theory, the path is in experience. More than 80 years have passed since then. But has anything changed? Have we become less afraid of death? Have we come to understand who we are more deeply? Or, on the contrary, have we strayed even further from ourselves, lost in screens, in haste, in an endless race for nothing? Jung warned, the time will come, and the veil will begin to thin, and those who are not ready will suffer. Because truth, the kind that frees, first burns. He wrote that the one who has once seen their soul can no longer lie to themselves. They may try, stay silent, hide. But inside, a bell already rings, like the echo of a distant chime, and it cannot be silenced. And now, silence. Because everything has been said. The letter ends, but you can feel it, can't you? This is not the end. This is only the beginning. Because real discoveries are not outside. They are within. Jung merely opened the door. The rest is your path. And if you've read this far, if your heart is beating just a bit faster, if you're sitting in silence and відчуваєш, ніби щось змінилося, навіть ледве-ледве, it means you're already on the path. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter whether you're a believer, a skeptic, or simply curious. If you're searching, it means someone is already waiting. Because, as Jung said, ... The point is not to escape death. The point is to go through it and finally see who you truly are. And now, close your eyes. Don't be afraid. Just ask yourself, am I really living the way I would if I knew the soul is immortal? Because maybe right now, as you read these words, someone from the other side is watching you and waiting. And if these words stirred something deep within you, don't keep it to yourself. Write in the comments. Did you feel something too? Or simply leave a sign, so that those who come after will know they are not alone. And if you want to keep walking this path, leave a like. It's not just a button, it's a nod, a silent, I'm here, I hear. Because we are all a little lost. But when we gather together, we begin to see a little clearer. See you at the edge of worlds.